Awesome. Thank you so much, Bree, for joining me again for a part two. We had so much fun in our first conversation, and I want to continue that a little bit more so that our viewers are able to really bring on a team member and show them how much they are loved. If they do or don't have dental experience, I think that this is going to go a very long way. So thank you so much, Bree, for joining us. I know that you are with Pivotal Solutions. Why don't you just take a quick minute or two and talk a little bit about how you can help practices and what you do?
Well, myself personally, I like to refer to myself as a success specialist. So, anyone seeking more success or better success, I'm confident that I can help bring them that success. I'm very passionate, energetic, and love all things dental, but I do have a knack for organizing and brainstorming and getting systems in place and really taking that comprehensive approach. So I want to help people see the better way of doing something. So the word pivotal means a lot to me because I really want us to work together, think together of how we can pivot and transform your success. So I welcome anyone to reach out to me and ask how we can partner together and strategize to be more successful. Teaching, training, and helping is what I'm meant to do on this earth. So I'm looking forward to hearing from anyone that is looking for bettering their business, their employees, and ultimately their practice. So thank you for that opportunity for me to share.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's now pivot and make our team members who we bring on more successful and
Yes.
chat a little bit more about the onboarding portion. So I know before we had got on this call, we discussed a little bit about something that you like to implement in your practices, really like the getting to know you. So talk to us a
Yes.
little bit about that.
So one of my favorite things to do is be creative and give recognition, show appreciation, and let team members know that they're valuable. And I can't ever pass up a good pun. So I love to think outside the box and create gifts, or even sometimes if life's busy and you have to give a gift card, I can't just give a gift card. I have to make it be something that has the gift card. But anyway, I do implement a getting to know you form. I want every employer, manager, employee to fill out this form. It would tell me, what is your favorite color? Where do you like to go out to eat? What airline do you travel on? What's your favorite flower? How do you like to spend your time outside of the office? Do you prefer birthday cake or chocolate? Really, just all these questions of getting to know someone to help me understand how they could be celebrated, or help an owner or manager understand how this employee could be celebrated. And it really sends a good vibe when an employee's like being onboarded and it might be their first day, and you're asking like, hey, when is your birthday, what's your favorite color, and they can fill that out, and then it's like the very first page in an employee file. So it is nice to be able to say, oh well, it's hygienist appreciation week. What is my hygienist's favorite color? Where do they like to go eat? What's their favorite movie? Or and it just helps you be able to refresh your mind and do something much more personalized for that employee. And yes, some view it as kind of going out of your way, but if you have employees that matter and you want to keep them, show them that.
Yeah.
And there's no better way of doing that than getting the details from the start and being able to use that. So I love the getting to know you form. I've been sharing that and doing that for probably 8 to 10 years now, and it's benefited me and my peers and clients time and time again.
Yeah.
Because if we all have been there where we're kind of like, oh my gosh, that's tomorrow, that's next week, so you can pull your file out and really kind of come up with something a little bit more quickly, rather than driving around to 6 stores thinking, what am I going to do? And then you just, oh well, here's your Amazon gift card because you
Yeah. Yeah.
ran out of time.
Yeah,
So
I think that's great. I think that's a standard operating procedure for sure that every office needs to implement. I think also would be a good idea if you had that in there. I'm not sure,
mhm.
but to also ask them something along the lines of Now, on the other side, what don't you like? Like, I
Mhm.
don't like Reese's, and everyone's just
Yeah.
appalled when they hear that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people give Reese's or chocolate covered something, even though I'd be like, oh, that's so great. And then I'd be like,
Yes.
honey, eat this for me. Tell me how much you enjoy it. And then I will say how much
Yeah.
that we enjoyed it together, you know?
Yeah.
Um, because I think that's also important. Or if somebody, to have like the shirt size, if somebody feels comfortable sharing that, or
Yes.
something like that, because I think there's a lot of really cute shirts out there with like teeth on it or whatever that you can share
Yes.
with team members. And if you say, well, I don't like cheetah print, then you don't
Yeah.
buy the cheetah print. It might
Right.
be cute for you, but it might not be cute for them.
Yeah.
So also having kind of the flip side of like what to not buy this person.
What to avoid.
Yeah.
And the possibilities are endless on what the form looks like. So we have a great template to at least be a prompt of questions that you would want to know or ask. And of course, your budget may be different, or the way you celebrate may be different. So it can be modified and edited however you like. And not to get too off track, so reel me back in if I get to go in here. But I took it a little bit further, and when we have a large team members, you would think something like celebrating an anniversary and buying everyone lunch or something would be just such a simple thing, but for some reason it's always just so complicated. You give people 2 or 3 day notice, and then here it is, 10 o'clock in the morning, no one knows what they want, where's the list, who wrote it down, who's ordering. So I actually made a lunch go-to form. So all of our popular restaurants, there's 10 or 15 we frequently would order from. I asked employees, or I've shared this with clients, to ask their team members, what is your go-to meal from this place, this place? What don't you like? What toppings? Avoid onions. I'm allergic to this. So that way, if we're like, hey, we're getting Chipotle on Thursday, and Dr. Bob still hasn't told us what he wanted, we can go pull the lunch to like go to meal list and see, oh, from Chipotle, they like this basket, don't get any crushed almonds or whatever. So you get the point. But it's to touch on a little bit what you're saying, make sure you understand what your employees don't like. So you don't have that lemon flavored birthday cake for the person that doesn't like lemon.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. And this kind of also goes along lines of what we were talking about last time. And I do want to touch base on it again because it is just so important, is to make sure that you schedule in times to meet with each team member, depending on how long they've been with you. I'll give you a for example. I had my 1 year check-in with one of my team members today. And rather than having your team members ask you difficult questions, you be the one to bring it up. So a lot of people don't want to bring up the fact of like, am I going to get a raise? What does that look like? What does my development here in this company look like? What
Mhm.
can I take on, or what can I learn within this company to better myself and to also better this company? And sometimes, I mean, growth is one of the number one answers we hear for people leaving the practice that they're currently at, because they feel that they've plateaued and there's nowhere left for them to go. And so they're seeking other offices to be able to
Right.
grab that validation of doing something more for themselves. And so I think even though it's hard as an office manager or as a dentist, or as whatever leader you are, to bring up the fact of like, raises come yearly, raises come every 6 months, and this
Mhm.
is what it looks like for a raise. This is what it looks like for additional benefits when we're bringing benefits on, rather than having the team member bring those things up, because it can be really uncomfortable sometimes to
Yeah.
have scheduled out that 1 week, kind of the first week review, the second week review, what things have you learned on, what things do you feel that you need to be retaught on, and then 4 weeks, 60 days, 90 days, 6 months, 12 months, and then to just always have it on your calendar. At the end of one review, make sure you have the next two scheduled. And so it's never a second thought on your mind. Basically, like, what's going to be for lunch on Thursday? It's the same thing.
Yes.
Like you're pre putting that in your calendar so nobody forgets, nobody gets left behind.
Mhm. And one of my favorite sayings is, you have to plan to plan. So if you don't take the time, now in your planning of what planning does need to take place or what review needs to take place, it's so much harder and it gets away from you. And then before you know it, you have 3 or 4 employees that are overdue for their performance reviews, and it becomes a daunting task rather than something that should be, a minimal task. And I would say where that all really ties back to, like I mentioned in our first session, it's clear expectations. If you're not setting clear expectations in the job interview of the wages that they're requesting, perhaps it's a higher wage than you felt you could extend, so you grandfathered them into that wage and in lieu of other benefits, or maybe that would be a salary increase that would typically occur at that 90 days window after they mastered that orientation and training list. Set the clear expectations of if this, then that, or what to expect. Hey, in 90 days, we are going to sit down and review what you've been able to accomplish and what professional goals or learning goals we need to set. You have to be clearly defining things, clearly expecting things, right? Because again, it just leads to disappointment and frustration. I do recommend, um, it's very common for an employee manual to actually say, how to get a raise or what we are evaluating for salary increases. There's typically a range, I'll just throw numbers out there. Perhaps your employee manual would say salary increases are assessed once a year, generally between a 2 to 5%. If increase is what's evaluated. And then, of course, the disclaimers of, this is not mandatory or obligation, it's by discretion and practice health, all of the fun, fluffy things that we need to disclaim and say. But again, clearly define things, have expectations. And if you want that good quality employee, have them understand how to benchmark themselves, what to show to you that you can understand the revenue that they're adding or what they're bringing to the bottom line. And that's not only my tip to owners, but to employees, find ways to benchmark yourself. What is going to be analyzed or reviewed to determine if you are owed that salary increase. So open communication is key. I know that uncomfortable conversations are hard, but we have to be able to openly communicate. And as the employer, owner, manager, I feel we are 100% responsible to set that tone, to let the employee know it is a safe space. You can come to my office, tell me how you're feeling, what you're worrying about. I would rather you come to me and tell me so we can leave with a solution rather than that just like manifests in your mind and you're leaving, over things that I didn't even know about. So let your employees know that it's safe to tell them that. And also, employees should hear that from the doctors too, like, hey, if I'm doing something, tell me. And the employee should have the same attitude, like, hey, if I'm doing something, I want you to tell me. Because a lot of people, they want to do a good job and they want to do it right. So if I'm not, please tell me. I've had so many employees say that to me, like, well, no, because I do ask the question, if there is an area of an improvement or I do notice something, like how can I best approach you? Um, and let them tell you. Like, and a lot of times people will say, well, if I could be doing something better, or if I'm not doing it right, I want you to tell me because I want to do it right. So I think that those are some key things too to consider.
And also,
Expectations and communication.
yeah, and also finding out from each team member how they learn best, like
Yes.
day one when they start. Because my favorite way to learn is to watch a video, but also to have the text transcribing basically what just went down. So I know in the last video we also talked about that a lot of creating this platform, this resource of how to do X,
Hmm.
Y, and Z. And so figuring that out ahead of time so that it is done right in the first time, it's just so validating to be able to be like, at
Hmm.
the end of the week, you've had, how 10 new things that you've learned how to do, and you've only had 10 errors, a minimal amount of errors, especially for your first week. So
Yeah.
I think that shows new team members how much they can be loved. So
And it's
um,
a real confidence booster too. There's nothing better than an employee that's been in a position and now they're perhaps growing, expanding, or promoting themselves within the practice. And now they can use those resources and tools to teach and show someone. And that really just makes them feel very confident. And once you have an employee that can teach and show someone else how to do what they're doing, um, you definitely can see a change within that employee, and they gain a confidence that they may have struggled with for a little while. So getting your employees, your veteran team members involved in the training process is key too. I can't have owners, dentists, managers, or even employees thinking it's one person's job to teach and train someone. Like, everyone plays a role and everyone plays a part. So
Everybody
that's
gets
key
to be
also.
a mentor of some kind. And that checklist we were talking about last week as well, that checklist is something that's super important, because one person that gets to be your new employee's buddy, their mentor,
Yes.
might
Hmm.
not be the best person to teach them everything. And I know
Hmm.
before we had also spoke about how important it is for new team members to go to the back of the office, to be
Yes.
that
Hmm.
patient and to experience what it would be like and be able to pay attention. Obviously, people have gone to the dentist their whole life, but how much are you paying attention to the things that the team members are doing around you versus it's just a thing that is just kind of going in one ear and out the other? Because let's be
Right.
real, that's kind of what happens before you get into dentistry.
And that's key. I think that's such a good point to make, because I've been saying it for years, where it's like two worlds in a dental practice. There's like the back and there's the front. That's what people always say. And then there's this big black hole where all this information seems to just get lost. The information doesn't necessarily cross all the way over to the front office. There's some disconnect there. So I've worked very hard to close those gaps and eliminate that black space. So what you're saying about your front office team members being able to go into the back operatory and experience that exam process, that diagnosis process, the conversations that is taking place, that is also a game changer, because you have your front office team members that are, presenting treatment plans, they're offering scheduling, they're following up with patients to reactivate them. So for them to have an understanding of the value and the education that's taking place in the back and what that process is, that is going to translate to them helping patients convert. Callers calling office, well, Mr. Patient, you do want to come here. We have the best technology, and our doctors take all of their time to sit and educate and give you your options, and you'll leave here best educated so you can make that decision for yourself. Or, so it really helps the front office become that extension of what's happening in the operatory. So highly recommend taking time to do that. And not to get on my soapbox, but one thing everyone has heard, no matter what profession is, it is time is money.
Mhm.
And for some reason, we've all been programmed that translate into, I need to work faster, I need to do more because my time is money. And I actually believe the opposite, where we need to take that time and slow down, build relationships, educate the patient, slow down, but increase profitability, because your time is money. Are you spending the right amount of time with your employee? Are you spending the right amount of time with your patient? Are you spending the right amount of time working on your business? So that's my little moment that I'll get off tangent wise with. But we have to slow down. We have to take time. So yes, is it some time that we have this employee in the chair and our, but hopefully your team members are strong enough that the dental assistant or hygienist can take that employee, like, hey, come back with me right now. You can observe this, watch this, or you get in the chair. Um, Open up resources like a photo that you've had of a patient. Tell them what you're seeing. So it all directly ties together, and it ultimately will bring you profit. It will put patients in your chair. So we have to take that time. It
No,
translates.
yeah. And thinking about time is money, that's ultimately one of the main reasons why people hire me too, is
Yes.
to, as a dental specific recruiter, you get the opportunity to continue your day to day versus having to go in and schedule the interview and do all of these initial first things that you could be with patients, you can be selling treatment plans, you can be working on the patients themselves. versus having to do all of that. It's very cumbersome. And
Yes.
if you are doing 100 other things like you're supposed to be doing as a business owner or as an
Yeah.
office manager or as any team member, you just don't usually have the time in your schedule to be able to dedicate fully to be able
Yeah.
to onboard the right person.
Right. And let's be honest, dentistry is exhausting. I mean, how many dentists have we seen walk out of the operatory, their hair's kind of sticking up, they have bags under their eyes. They just did like the hardest root canal ever, the most difficult extraction. They're tired, they're running a business, they're managing patients, they're overseeing uh, all of the clinical team members. There's a lot. So if a doctor can take that off their plate of recruiting, interviewing, hiring, training, um, why not? I mean, they say it about themselves where you're not paying for time, you're paying for experience, so why not apply that to having that professional come in and save you 10 years of grief. So it's very much worth it to use professionals like yourself and take that task off of them.
Yeah. And professionals like you too. So I think that is a great way to pivot and to end this conversation. So thank you so much for
See what you
joining me
did there.
again. I know, right? You said you liked fun. I thank you very much for being with me today. I really appreciate it, and hopefully you'll be on again with me for another video here in maybe a few more months. We'll see. We'll see what time will tell.
Certainly, we will see. Thank you again for having me, Wendy. Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Bye.